My name is James Klim. Welcome to We Talk Dentistry. I'm really excited to be with you folks again today, particularly with our guests that are coming on in just a moment. Just a few updates. I haven't done this podcast in a while because I'm recovering from surgery, some new body parts, and I'm walking well. What I found out from that experience was that you have to give your body time to warm up. My life is very full between my practice, my teaching, my content creation, but I'm looking forward to getting this podcast really streamlined now and up and going. Well, today's guests are from the Mod Institute. Dr. Wally Rennie is the founder of the Mod Institute and leads all learning and innovation initiatives at the organization. He is a contributing member of the Mod Aesthetics, the private practice arm of the Mod Institute. He previously served as the professor and assistant dean of innovation in digital dentistry at the Medical University of South Carolina. He is also an active dental researcher and has published over 30 studies on scan and milling accuracy using various systems. Dr. Michael DeFee is also a co-founder of the Mod Institute and oversees all the clinical operations at the private practice. He is also the managing director of the Mod Research, directly overseeing new research initiatives. An alumni of the Dawson Academy, Dr. DeFee has published over 10 articles in peer-review journals, including the Journal of Virology and the Journal of Prosthetic Dentistry. How you folks doing? It is so good to see you today. I've been looking forward to this interview for quite a few months. In fact, our time schedule is so unique. It was hard to get it all ready. But if you're okay, I'm going to go with first names. You can call me Jim, Bob, Jimmy, James, or whatever it is. But Wally and Mike, it's so good to see you folks today. By the way, I have to compliment you on something. I signed up and took your ExoCAD online training, and I feel like I know you guys already.
Awesome. Thanks for that support, Jim. That means a lot coming from a legend like you.
Yeah, well, thanks. Super here, Jim.
It's humbling. You know, one thing, and I want to just pick this up because I've had an interest in media for years, and I watched you folks, and what really hit me, you know, I'm married to a marriage family therapist, so I always go for the hard stuff. And what really came through with both of you, Wally and Mike, is that you guys seem really genuine to me, and I'm sure the people that know you, in fact, I know people that know you, and they would back that up. And that's a real gift to convey that online. I started online, I tell you, it was probably more stressful than anything I've ever done because you're talking to a camera and you have to act like you're real. And I met Ryan, your media guy, and I'm really impressed with the quality that you folks are doing there back there at the Mod Institute. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit more about your focus, because I know you made a commitment a while back that you were going to go obviously digital, but you're going to go with printing. Tell me about your perspective on that, because you folks are both academic people. You do research, you come from an academic background, and you're still in that. Why did you choose printing to be your main niche within your educational platform?
Yeah, so for me, I have a really profound passion for conservative adhesive dentistry, and I love the concept of partial coverage restorations and open veneers. And I love milling technology, but the issue that I was finding was that the adoption for chairside milling was on a downward slope, and all the beautiful things I wanted to do and teach around conservative adhesive dentistry were falling to the wayside because essentially not a lot of people were interested in that chairside component. And so with 3D printing, I found a new avenue, one ripe for innovation and one that really needed some research behind it because it's kind of the wild, wild west in 3D printing right now.
Yeah. So Mike, tell me this, that I've watched in fact, I felt like I got acquainted with you on your online ExoCAD aspect on there. But what I understood is that you folks were at dental school together or somewhere in that aspect.
So yeah, it's interesting. I started dental school a couple years behind Wally, so we were there concurrently. He was a couple years ahead of me. And I really have a passion for research in science. And so in undergrad, I worked in a protein biochemistry lab for about 3 years, working on some different protein characterization.
Cool. Really?
And then, yeah, coming into dental school, I found that I really missed that quite a lot the first year that I was in dental school, and decided to kind of take a leave of absence from dental school and spend some more time in research. Ended up doing a PhD, and then came back to dental school after that was done. And so as I'm coming back to dental school to finish my clinical training, Wally is a new professor at the dental school. You probably know his story, but really exemplary clinician, and was essentially offered a position at the university right out of dental school. And so and there's a lot of like nuance and stuff to research and publishing that you don't learn in dental school. And so we kind of teamed up as I'm back in dental school on some of Wally's early publications, and I don't know that I would say I mentored him, but I helped him understand some of the kind of things that have to happen to get, to be successful publishing, and did some statistics work. And so we really got to know each other much better then, I would say, than just kind of being acquaintances in dental school, and kept in touch after dental school as I transitioned into private practice for some time. And, kind of with COVID and, everybody taking a different perspective on things, really had wanted to approach the mod concept at that time and try to really do something different and something that we felt would be transformative for dentistry and dental education, knowing that 3D printing is a technology is not new at all, right? Like it was really kind of invented in the 80s. And it's been ubiquitous for prototyping in several other industries for many years. And now we're in part manufacturing in a lot of industries as well. And dentistry is finally starting to take advantage of a lot of that technology that's been developing in other industries for some time. And just really with the excitement with Sprint Ray and Accurata and some other manufacturers just really investing and pushing the technology forward, we really just felt the time was right to jump in and try to drive this forward with a good academic research background so that we know what we're doing for our patients as data support the techniques and things that we're doing there. And, it's just such I say this all the time, but it's like the most exciting time to be a dentist, I think.
I think
how fast technology is changing.
It's so awesome.
Speaking of that, I'm entering my 5th decade of practicing now, and it's kind of humbling because I feel like I've never had more fun. And, the body, in fact, I haven't done this podcast in a while because I'm getting through surgery, of rebuilding my body. But fortunately, my mind is working well. At least my wife says it is. And then, when the body works, and then I think of the eyes and all that, but I've never been more excited about what we're doing. And I'm just totally hooked on your guys' YouTube channel. And I look forward to see more of what you're going to do online, because what I learned during the pandemic as an educator is have multiple revenue sources and educational sources, because it really shows up. One thing that I did hear, though, in your interview with Amir from Sprint Ray, and I'm going to post that link below. I thought that was a really good interview. If you want to get to know Mike and Wally better, that's a really good one. But the fact that that you folks give a lot away. In fact, I have your ebook on printing, and that is a really nice book. I've read it from cover to cover. Tell me your philosophy about education, because education can come in many different ways. I've always believed in abundance, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there, Jim. In fact, you do a lot of really cool free tutorials and how to stain and glaze and characterize. In fact, I think the standard has been set by you and Emacs characterization techniques, and a lot of that's been given away by you. And we've always had the mentality that education should be abundant, should be free. But if you want to come do the hands-on minutia of, really diving really deep into a topic, it's hard to do in YouTube-based format or online for free. So we really want to drive people to our courses for that more personalized experience, but yet we want the knowledge to be there for those people who don't have access to coming to an institute, or even don't have the funds to sign up for one of our online classes. They could get pieces of it, and we try not to hold back too much. They could get meaningful pieces of education online for.
Yeah, I would say as a whole, we just believe in the democratization of education, right? Because it's what drives our industry forward. It's what's good for our patients. It's what's good for our practitioners. And so really, we try to meet people at whatever point in their educational journey. If you're advanced and just looking for some quick tips, YouTube and a lot of the free stuff is going to get you there. If you're really kind of jumping on the digital bandwagon and the 3D printing bandwagon, like Wally mentioned, that's not something that you can really capture in a 3-minute YouTube video. Take someone from beginner to executing, and that's where our hands-on classes I think are really good. And the online we really think is probably the best way to treat design training in a really accessible, conducive to learning the concept environment. And so that's why we did the ExoCAD class online, because you can sit down and it's a ton of information that have taken Wally and I years and years to kind of capture and coalesce and really refine. And to do that in 2 or 3 days and expect that people can, really capture all of that in their mind and go home and be ready to do advanced design. It's tough. I mean, some people certainly can do it, but it's like looking from a fire hose. It's a lot of information. And so, that way you can take the bites that you need to, practice it, come back, rewatch the video again if you need to. And so,
which I have done. I have done that. In fact, it's interesting because, I'm really getting into the appliance platform and using the Sprint Ray. I have the Asiga as well, and I've started off with Formlabs years ago. But I would say that the latest Sprint Ray is pretty sharp, both with their cloud. Of course, I'm a control freak. I started with the Red Cam. In fact, Lee Kolb got me into CAD Cam because I used to do my own ceramics years ago. I like that control. And there's a concept that I'm coming across in with how I try to convey what I've done and what's really been meaningful for me in practice, and that is self-reliance. Because we need to have that self-reliance to control our destiny. And I think printing is going to be a major portion of that. Now, the question that I would have, because, I'm an old dog here, and I remember a system that I placed about, 100,000 worth of restorations that I had to upgrade sooner than I planned on.
Okay.
And what?
Okay, now are we talking before CAD Cam, Jim?
Yeah, before CAD Cam. I don't want to mention the company for the sake of just being polite. But it was, and so I've been so careful about recommending products because of that. So when I've seen you recommend products, you folks definitely are evidence-based. So here's the one question I really wanted to ask you about printing, and that would be the printed restoration. And I love your candy coated technique. It's like I always think about you every day, guys, because I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is Mod Institute technique, and it works so well. Where do you see the luster endurance happening with these printed materials, particularly using the candy coated technique? Because that's been my one question. I don't question the printed material.
Jim, and I'm not going to give you any information that is something you probably don't know, but it's not as good as porcelain currently right now. A lot of people like to compare it to Emax and to zirconia and to glazed porcelains, and it's not that. In fact, there's 2 huge weaknesses right now with 3D printed restorations as we see it. It's not strength. Everybody wants 1100 megapascals of flexural strength, but that's not it. We have over 3,000 bonded adhesive printed restorations in our patients. Have almost no fractures, Jim. We have no debonds, but what we do see are 2 things, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. We see a little bit of a more wear compared to your standard porcelains, and we also see a little bit of dulling over time of the surface finish, which don't have that intense luster, which is why we kind of try to invent the candy coating technique, because we oftentimes will hand polish after we candy coat with
I've seen that.
yeah, and that's especially for veneers. That seems to be holding up fairly well. We do have to touch up that polish at usually the 1 year mark when the patients come back for their hygiene. If it's a quick, touch up. It's kind of like direct composite in that regard. That stuff dulls over time, and
Sure. Yeah.
I think printed restorations as a step up from a direct resin, but not a porcelain replacement right now. And I'm using it as this intermediary of, hey, we have tried and true gold standard porcelains at this price, and these are the standard. Or we could do a direct resin at this price, but in my hands, it's not going to hold up that well. It's, I just am not that talented with direct resins. And I usually tell them, I was like, we have this incredible new option right in the middle that, allows me the control you were talking about, Jim, with digital design, and allows me all the control, but yet at the same time is a step up from a direct resin in a lot of regards.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Mike, you were saying that you haven't placed a direct composite in quite a few years, or at least for any type of significant restorative work.
Probably almost 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
Which I know that's sort of not the reality for most folks, and I'm definitely very passionate and do almost exclusively comprehensive dentistry now. It's all on neck, mouth rehabilitation. So I have a little bit of a luxury there in that outside of some of the charity work that we do, I don't do a lot of kind of traditional general dentistry. But yeah, I am proud to say it's been almost 3 years since I placed a direct composite.
I've seen this guy print, Jim, a tiny little thing that has one support on it that is like a buckle pit.
I love it.
And he refuses to do direct resin. He'll print the littlest thing that you can't even see.
Yeah, I've printed endo access seals. I've definitely printed.
Oh, I love it.
It's great. He's great.
You got to do what you believe in. I enjoy composites. I remember carving them back in the late 80s and 90s. And I can tell you what's happened through the years on that. I got started with concept, though. I still have a few concepts in the mouth. And if they're not in the haughty, abrasive areas in occlusion, some of them are still holding up. And then prior to that, I started with macrofelspathic with a refractory cast technique. I did that on my dad. And those lasted probably good 26 years, using that good adhesive simile just on the enamel, coating the dentin with glass ionomer. And my father moved to a different location. So just out of pride, I upgraded those because I didn't want to think the dentist that was serving him to think, yeah, he does CAD-CAM. These really suck. Even though they were still functioning okay, it kind of looked like a rough sidewalk on those margins. So getting back to the printing aspect, and I'm going to just do a future-focused question here because I actually have this intuitive sense. Again, it's just a gut instinct that I think we're on the verge of a major shift. And I know that Ivoclar is now working with Sprint Ray for some material production. And I've used their Tetra CAD, and what I've noticed with that, and even Cerasmart, which is a millable type of polymer, is that the luster is held up really well when it's polished. Where do you see, again, this may be hard to describe, but where do you see this going in the next 5 years?
What's nice is we have a few NDAs signed, so we can't go into details, but we get a glimpse into 2 and 3 years out of what's coming. And you hit the nail on the head when you said Tetra CAD holds its luster and Cerasmart. We're going to see better materials than that hit the market in the next year to year and a half. And when I say better, what I mean by that is similar to the optical and polish retention, but better mechanical properties as it relates to fracture toughness, flexural strength, slightly better. And so we're going to see printed polymers slightly exceed milled polymers. And here's the only reason why. A lot of the milling manufacturers just are not investing millions and millions of dollars into a polymer block.
Yeah.
It's not on their top priority list. They'd rather do that for the next porcelain, whereas printing manufacturers are investing millions and millions into polymer technology. And so that's why we're seeing some innovations there. It's not because milling is a worse technology at all. And so we're going to see, I think, a big transition for same day restorative dentistry heading towards these super polymers that come out of printers. And what that's going to do for the industry is allow more people to take up same day, chairside, conservative adhesive dentistry than ever before. More people doing the types of stuff that you and I have seen over the years with CAD/CAM that have been revolutionary for practices without invest necessarily in chairside mills and things like that. So it's an exciting time, I think, to see that paradigm shift that's going to occur.
Mike, go ahead.
I think for me, when Sprint Ray announced the Ivoclar partnership, it was probably the biggest 3D printing news in dentistry ever. I mean, outside of maybe the launch of the first Formlabs printer, which is really what kind of kicked everything off in 3D printing in dentistry, because Ivoclar has such a history and a track record of doing things at what ends up being the standard, and the level of execution on their products is just so high that when you see Ivoclar coming into the industry in that way, you know that it's here to stay and that the standard is just absolutely going to get raised. And so it's super exciting. You know, I think there's a lot of hardware innovation, but we're going to get to the limits of the hardware fairly quickly, I think. And then we're all relying on the innovation in the resin technology. And so I'm super excited to see what comes out of that partnership in the next 3 to 5 years. Some of the things that we've seen and have helped develop, but like Wally, I really see 3D printing as democratizing a lot of dental care, because you can get into same day dentistry for 15 grand and have a top level system. You can manufacture faster at lower cost than you can with 3-axis milling, which is a great technology.
Any day.
Limited the tools. Right. And so it allows more patients to get care that they need in a conservative way that can still be profitable and beneficial to dental practice. It's just a win-win any way you look at it. And so that's what's super exciting for me is Ivoclar's in it. So we know that we're really going to get pushed now, and the industry's going to start adopting this.
Yeah. Well,
you know, when I look, and I think you bring up a really good point, because we know there's tons of direct composites done. And in the heat of the day, I know the way you folks teach, you do it by the book. Rubber dam, control your moisture, control your curing, and all this aspect. I really think that with the intuitive nature of AI software and printing, it's going to raise the bar significantly in this one section, because here's my hunch. My hunch is this: I'm all about occlusion, trying to work out the issues of my own mouth. You know, it's kind of like a therapist. You know, why do you become a therapist? Where you came from, where you're going in the way you feel about life. Well, the same thing's happening within this aspect of dentistry right now. And so my thinking on this is, if we can raise the bar of general dentistry as a whole and make it deliverable in a more financially economical way, it's going to help the larger bell curve. Now, I'm careful on how I talk about this, but I've been fee for service for 25 years, mainly because I didn't like control of insurance companies getting in the way. And I know not everybody can do that. And I've, you know, I lectured at dental schools. In fact, I'm an advisor at Loma Linda University for digital dentistry, and that's where I went to school. But every dentist wants to do their best. And I would say the biggest hassle in dentistry today is being under a system where you don't have enough time to do what you want to do right. And we know that falls apart with a direct composite real fast, because it's all technique. Even though printing is technique driven, I think there's going to be things there, as I've seen with other millable processes, to really up the game, particularly with adhesive dentistry. Why don't you folks talk about the value of a printed restoration versus a machine restoration as far as the adhesive assembly goes? Because I heard one of your presentations on that, Wally, and I found that very interesting as far as the value of bonding in a printed restoration compared to a milled polymer type of restoration.
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic to me. I mean, both technologies, you get the advantage of indirect dentistry, which takes care of polymerization, shrinkage stress. It takes care of degree of polymerization versus, in situ polymerization versus polymerizing out of the mouth. And all those things are valuable. But the big difference between a milled polymer block, like say a Tetra Cat or a Cerasmart or whatever, and a printed polymer, although at first glance they're almost identical on chemistry composition and scanning electron micrograph. But what the milling manufacturers have done in order to maximize the strength of their polymer blocks is they cook them in high heat, high pressure argon or nitrogen gas, and they basically get 100% of methacrylate conversion of those blocks.
Yeah,
they're very inert, which can be good when it comes to biocompatibility, but they're also now removed kind of the magic of what a resin is, and they've removed some of the bondability of those materials.
Right.
And so you tend to get a little bit more bond strength issues over time with a milled polymer versus a printed polymer. And the reason being is when a print comes off of the printer, it's about 60% methacrylate conversion. About, by the way, the same as a direct resin would be if you cured it in the mouth, right? So they're about equal in conversion right off the printer. But then once you finish it and put it in that manufacturer's recommended curing cycle with a high-powered curing unit, you go from 60 to right about 90%. And you might say, well, that's not good. You're not at 100%. Well, first thing you have to understand is that 10% of free methacrylate is the magic to bondability of these restorations. And we see very little advantage of going from 100% to 90% to 100% cure mechanical property wise. We see very little big advantage there, but we do see the advantage in bondability. And so that's one reason why I think that printing might have a slight edge on milling. And the other reason, of course, is the interjection of millions of dollars of research into particularly urethane methacrylate esters that are novel to the printing world. They're sister chemistries to our milled polymer blocks, but they have longer chain polymers that have higher things such as elongation at break and fracture toughness, which means they're just a little bit less brittle than your average milled composite. Now, if they could work on the wear, I think we'll have a magic material. If they could get the wear of the printed materials where I want it, I think it's going to be a game changer.
I have no doubt about that. In fact, of all the materials I've seen through the years that has the best wear compatibility that I've seen over a period of time has been Impress. It's just been amazing. I have full mouth rehabs that are 25 years out now, still working. You know, you had to be careful with it, and but at the time, that's the best we had, and so we went with it. But that was a game changer, and I have no doubt about that. I had a company call me a while back wanting to know what they thought I saw in printing, particularly for direct restorations, and I said, look, you've got to look at the way we deliver care. And I said, our goal is to provide better care in different type of provider environments. And I said, if you can use AI software, the precision of digital scanning, and the ability to fabricate something that is going to streamline and get around these shrinkage issues that we've had with composites. Because I'm a gold foil guy. I mean, I'm old, and and I love the technique for that. But you know, when you get into real life, you want to have delivery systems that are predictable and going to up the game within our dental community. And in my thinking, I really think printing is going to lead the way in that. It's already leading that. And I'm really excited about it. I want to keep doing this for a long time because I don't want to leave. In fact, I'm up here at my digital lab at my homestead, and you know, I have one chair, and I love to create content, but I don't want to stop this anytime soon just because I'm having so much fun. So I have to change the subject here. because I know that I've heard the story about when you folks started the Mod Institute, you both kind of burnt your boat. In other words, you took some major risks where you're reaching out for a vision. Why don't you tell me about how you both handled that? Because right now you guys are just, the rumors going around that you're booked up for over a year. Congratulations. But I know with the fortitude that you folks have taken in your own personal lives and professional, you're going to be very, very, you're already successful, but you folks, I mean, I even heard that you're starting Mod Institute in Europe. And did I hear that right?
Well, there's always rumors. There's always rumors going around. Our expansion is going to be based off of people. So we like to build institutes around people.
Yeah.
And there's some really incredible talent out of Europe that we're looking at right now. And it's just a really exciting time for Europe as well, because Jim, you have to understand that in Europe, they're only at about 15% digital scanner penetration.
Yeah.
We're at like 59% scanner penetration here in the States. And so they're at this like incubation stage where they really need education, not just with scanning, but even printing there is at about a market penetration of roughly about 3%. So they're starting off in their digital journey, but the talent there is immense. And so we would love to just be able to help them along that journey as they try to get more digital. But, speaking of personally, from the risks that I took to start an institute, I was a full professor with tenure at a major university. And really, that's where you kind of try to get to with your life. And I was the youngest professor ever at the university that had tenure in the history of the university. And it's been around for like hundreds of years. And so it's one of the first universities in America, actually. It's old. And so to get that title as the youngest professor ever, I could have just kind of like, did a little bit of nothing and been happy and low stress and helped the students with their digital dentistry. And it's like you said earlier with insurance companies, you want to be in charge of your own destiny. So you went fee for service. Well, when you're in a big institution like that, you're never in charge of your own destiny. You always have somebody new or somebody that comes in that doesn't believe your vision. And, we had people come in that were like, digital dentistry, that doesn't work. You can't scan. You can't do this. I don't want the students doing same day ceramics. I don't want them to do this. And so, when you hit those roadblocks, you have to make a call for your life. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to exit the university environment and start a training center where nobody's going to ever be able to dictate what I could teach. Yeah.
So you make that move. Now, Mike, you had a very successful practice. And from what I've read, you took a practice in integrated digital support and it just flourished. And then you made that move, and I understood that you sold that. And now, how did you and Wally reconnect on that? Because you knew each other in dental school or postgraduate work.
Yeah, I mean, we had been kicking around an idea like this for a number of years, and the timing just never was right. I was in practice, having a great time.
Yeah.
Leading my team, seeing a lot of patients, delivering care, bringing digital into the practice workflow. Is it starting to grow? And then I had some family situations that changed that made me kind of relook at some stuff. And so I don't remember if it was Wally who called me or if I called Wally, but we were kind of like, I'm making a change, Wally. Let's make a go of this. And so, I ended up selling my practice, moved to Charleston, and we dove headfirst in. And, Wally's not someone who's afraid of risk, and I've never really been afraid of risk as well. And so when we looked at the numbers and the data and where we just kind of saw the industry growing, we knew there would be a need for what we wanted to do and what we were passionate about. And I think that for me is like the secret sauce of like life and happiness, when the world is ready for what you're passionate about and you can jump in and help drive a technology that benefits everyone. It just, I mean, I feel super blessed to be in the situation that I am. I love what we do every day. And,
Isn't that
you know,
great?
it's awesome. It's so awesome. And, you know, like I said, not that I, you know, had a bad time in practice, but it's hard to see myself doing anything else in dentistry now, having done this for 3.5 years. It's just such a great mix of learning and driving technology forward, seeing patients and passing that knowledge on to help push the industry forward. That, yeah, it's just like I said, I wake up every morning. It's hard not to just like be happy and smile because I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
loving what we're doing so much.
Well, you guys are smiling. It comes across in your energy. By the way, I'm coming back there and taking classes. I just have to get my practice sold first because I love to learn. You know, you bring up another point here, and I've shared this publicly before. My wife and I lost a son years ago, and so through that recovery period, you know, you try to make the best out of sorrow, which we all are in. But where I'm going with this is what I discovered at the time is we took these brain tests, and it shows that everyone has a quadrant of the brain that's more oxygenated. And when you spend more time within that brain strength, you'll be happier, your immune system's better, and it totally transformed what I did. That's when I went fee for service, changed the way I work. I don't like working on a tight schedule, even though I'm very productive and efficient. You know, that gets at you after a while. And when you can go to work, which is really not work to me, it's just a way of life, and really have that passion and zip in your life. Like you wake up in the morning, like as a kid, and I always say, I couldn't wait to get up and eat my Cheerios and see what the adventure of the day was going to be. And I kind of pick up that energy from you folks. And it's a subconscious energy that you guys are conveying. And I can tell you right now, that's part of your success, even though you're really good at everything else. It's just a little different angle of where I haven't really gotten to know you folks well. In fact, but I've been watching you for a long time, and you folks have something really unique. And my challenge to everyone out there is find your path, find your passion. Dentistry, I think, is a great profession, but it can also be very stressful.
Yeah.
And when we have mentors such as you folks, it's more about mentoring dentistry. It's about passing on a way of life of where we want to give more than we take, right?
Yeah.
And that comes through really clear with your teaching. And I really admire where you folks are going. I hope to have you on again someday. I know I'm looking at the time here and things are wrapping down, and I hope to see you out there at the True Abutment next week and actually shake your hand.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
enjoy that. But in just closing right now, with everything that you've seen in dentistry, what would be the words of encouragement that we see to our colleagues of where my main goal as an educator is not about me at all. It's about trying to pass something on so others can have a better life. Because to me, it's all about the family. When you go home at night, you want to be able to give everything you can to your family and have that quality relationship of relationships. You know, the indirect butterfly effect of that is helping doctors learn to celebrate their techniques better so they can choose and live a better life at the office, so you have more to give at the end of the day. How are you folks integrating that, and how would you pass that on to the colleagues that are watching right now?
For me, I think the biggest thing is finding what you're passionate about in dentistry, and making that your hobby, like you've done, Jim, like what we've done. And not giving in to insurance companies and constantly doing the things that you're not passionate about in your work life trickles into your home life. It like you said, it's not using that part of your brain that gets the most excited and is the most oxygenated. And everybody has that passion, and they just are sitting on it because they have the worries of, oh, I got, a quadrant of class 2s I got to do. I have to do this and that. And
that was stressful. That comment was stressful to me.
I'm already stressed. And for us, it was digital dentistry that really reinvigorated the passion for dentistry and caring for our patients. And when we go home, it's like we're rejuvenated because we're coming back to a hobby rather than a drudgery of doing dentistry we don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a couple of things. I think change is hard, just period.
Yeah.
So whoever's out there, whatever point you are on your digital journey, you make a commitment. Because what digital dentistry and 3D printing will do for you is it will open up a possibility of predictability within your practice. You hit the nail on the head when you were talking about class 2 composites being technique sensitive. You can do them very efficiently and at a super high level, but you have to like spend hundreds and thousands of hours of focusing on technique, and then you need the systems in your practice to do that. Digital dentistry lets you pick that up wherever you want to be on the journey. If you are in a state that has expanded function dental assistants, all you have to do is sit down and make your prep, and then you walk out of the room and they scan, and maybe they design or a lab technician designs, they print it, they cure it, you come in and you make sure it fits and you deliver it. That's pretty low stress for me. And like you probably ascertained this already, but direct composites I do not like and did not like. And so that like just that one point for me, it just makes me happy just thinking about it.
Yeah. In fact, I'm happy just listening to you talk about it.
The other thing I would say is just invest in your people.
Yeah.
Invest
Good
in
point.
your family, invest in your team. Like, let them take charge and take stress off of you. Like, they're with you for a reason. Some of them is just a paycheck, and you know those people will come and go, and that's okay. They're at a different stage in their life, but your team and your staff look up to you, and they want to support you. They want to make you happy, and they want to be good at their job, just like you want to be good at your job. And so pour into them, train them, let them take some of this technology and take your practice to the next level.
Amen to that. You know, in fact, the thing I'm struggling with in my life right now is, in fact, my hygienist, we've worked off and on together for almost 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And my current team members have been with me, in fact, one's been with me for over half her life. Wow. And, you know, that's a relationship that we have, and that chemistry that you have when everyone's excelling. You know, you work through the hiccups of life. I've never seen a hiccup as being a bad thing. It just identifies a process that we need to look at and maybe refine. I'm married to a marriage family therapist, and she's my 4th grade sweetheart. Awesome. And the thing that I've learned through life is communication, connect with other people, learn to listen, and just have a wealth of growth in relationships. And that starts with the team. I've trained in the CERC system. I've trained assistants for years, and they're highly gifted. And the thing I love about digital dentistry, and in fact, I'm speaking on that next week at True Abutment, is the precision that we can attain in occlusion, which is like, I'm a Shimstock guy, right?
Me too.
And that's never gone away. We can get that close when we understand physiology and how PDLs move around, and using that system to optimize what we do. In fact, this week is such a rush, and I get a rush on this even now. I put in a quadrant of restorations, and I have a lot of elderly clients, so I do a fair amount of zirconia, mainly because we're working with subgingival decay, which I'm having to deal with at my age. And so I find zirconia works well when I'm having to reach deep. And what I loved about this process is we did a quadrant of zirconias. They dropped in, kid you not, back to the second molar. I didn't have to touch it, and it held Shimstock. And I go away with euphoria.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's about managing the system. And I think that's what you folks are saying, is that precision provides predictability when you have the workflow down. And that's what you folks teach at the Mod Institute. So kudos.
Yeah, and Jim, I got to say, your philosophy on micro-occlusion, you have a video out there. I can't remember if it's on YouTube or you posted it on Facebook. But the philosophy that you have on micro-occlusion is identical to what we've been teaching. It's almost like taking the words right out of my mouth when you were talking about contact on inclined planes, and not like nobody really is as good as you at dialing it down to a recipe. And I think that's why you have such great success in delegating a lot of the amazing things that you do in CAD/CAM dentistry. So you've been an inspiration to us as well.
Well, thank you.
We look to you for a lot of things on what's going on with digital. So I can't wait to hear you.
Well, now I'm looking at you guys and I'm saying you folks are taking that torch to a new level. And I'm really looking forward to following you folks.
Thanks.
And getting better acquainted. And I admire you folks a lot. And thank you for what you share to our community and what you're going to share in the future. It's going to be great. Hey, if you hang on for a moment, I'm going to close this out and I'll be right back. Wasn't that great today? Mike and Wally, you've got to spend time with them. If nothing else, go to their YouTube channel. I'll post that below. If you want to learn more about printing, they're the Institute. They have a West Coast facility as well. Dr. D. Oliveira, who I know, he's great as far as that goes. But my challenge to you folks would be continue learning, look for the best in life, and love the people that are around you, and life is going to be great. So thanks for signing on, and I'll see you in the next broadcast. Bye.